Okay, so hey everybody. I just kind of wanted to post a little bit of an update. I've been pretty absent from YouTube for the last 6 months, 7 months or so, and I guess I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the state of the channel and kind of like what my goals are moving forward with it. And I guess what I'm trying to do right now is realign with my original purpose. And so I have had a bit of a dry spell, and dry spell's a light way of putting it because it's been a long time since I've really been in the studio writing music regularly. And when I kind of first got started on my music journey, just aside from messing around with my guitar when I was a kid, but when I actually sat down and started trying to compose songs, I was so excited. Little guitar riffs that I had kind of played when I was a kid started all kind of coming back to me once I had access to actual music software. And so I just had this flood of music come out of me, and over the course of about 10 years I wrote most of the music that has been playing on my channel. And so I wrote all these songs, and they just kind of sat in my iPod for years, and eventually my iPod died, and I had them on my phone and I'd play them for my friends, and but I didn't really do anything with it. I burned a couple of CDs way back in the day. This is early 2000s to the early 2010s, and so my music really, I didn't have an outlet for it. I just kind of was maybe I'll have a Metallica kind of start. I'll pass around CDs to people, and eventually they'll start copying my CDs and handing them around, and I'll have this cult following or whatever. I kind of had all these dreams of people obsessing over the unnameable, and what's he gonna do next? And so what ended up happening was I got caught up in life, and a lot of really big life events hit, a lot of big stress factors, and I found myself with not enough time or energy or passion to really get into the studio and write and record anything. And I won't go into the details about all that because it's depressing, but I found myself in a space in my life, and this was about 6 years ago when I first started uploading videos to this YouTube channel, and I found myself kind of having kind of a life reset where I had this opportunity to kind of really reevaluate my life and look at the things that meant something to me when I first started out on my journey of life. And one thing that really stood out, I had bunch of little hobbies and interests, things I like to do. I'm a big gamer. I love art, but I love music, and music was one of those things that it was always there. I would phase in and out of other kind of hobbies and stuff. I'd find myself I'd read a really good book, and then I would find myself doing nothing with my spare time but reading every single day for months or whatever. I'd plow through 50, 75 books, and but then I would get kind of burnt out on reading, and then a new Resident Evil game would come out, and I'd start playing that, and then I'd find myself all sucked into video games, and I'd be doing that with my spare time. But there were always moments where I was picking up my guitar, or I was practicing beatboxing or whatever. There was always some music in my life. It was something that when I was at work, it was what I was looking forward to do when I got off work. And a lot of times it was the thing that kept me up so late that I had a hard time waking up and getting to work the next morning. So music was something that was really important to me, and I had lost that for a long time. So when I found myself in this place where I could kind of reset and kind of start reevaluating and looking at my life again, it was something that kind of really stood out as something I wanted to pursue, something I wanted to get back into, something that felt really fulfilling, and also something that I could share with the world. And that's kind of always been an important factor, you know. Like, I think part of the reason why I allowed myself to drift away from the music so easily was because I didn't have an outlet to share it with people. And so I started taking a lot of those songs that I had written 10, 15 years prior, and just, you know, making a quick, easy video with just a static image in the background. And for the most part, it felt pretty boring, you know? Like, I feel like most people who just want to listen to music, they go to some other streaming service, like, you know, Spotify, Amazon, whatever. So basically what I'm getting at is I posted all my songs, and I scheduled them out, so it took like a couple years to upload all of my music to YouTube, kind of hoping I could like bite into the algorithm a little bit, maybe get recommended to people, because I really want my music to be heard. Like, that's kind of the point. That's why I write it. I mean, I feel like I'm doing it anyway, you know, but I really like to share my art with people, you know. It's something I'm passionate about. So so over the years, over the first like 3 years of being on YouTube, I got very few views. Some of my songs were, I mean, I still have very few views, like, relatively. But just within the realm of my own channel and what it is now compared to what it was, I was getting like anywhere between like 3 and 7 views per song. And I'm sure like 1 or 2 of those were actually me going and reviewing the video after it was uploaded. Because I have a separate channel that's kind of like everything that I watch on YouTube. And then I have my channel that's like what I upload to. So yeah, after I would upload a new video, I would go and look at it and just, I don't know, make sure it looks all right. So even less views than it looked like. And but then about 2 years ago on Halloween, so this was 2024 Halloween time, I was dressing up as James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2, and I kind of reenacted the opening scene to the video game in my bathroom. You know, I did the whole like, I got a letter, you know, and you know, I was in my costume and I had my hair bleached, you know, and it was kind of fun, you know. It was a fun little video project to do, and I posted it, and it got way more views than any of my music videos ever did. And you know, there's no accounting for taste, but I don't really think like my music is like universally enjoyable, you know. Like, a lot of it's freaking weird, some of it's you know, there's times where I'm writing a song and I'm essentially trying to create the musical version of a horror movie. And a lot of times it's just about getting my emotions out there, you know, like my personal journal. And so I could understand why, you know, if somebody's, you know, looking for something upbeat to listen to, they're not necessarily listening to my music. But this video, this little like Silent Hill short that I created, it really, it kind of like, in terms of like how big my YouTube channel was, it blew up. It felt to me like, oh my God, I just had my first viral video, because it got like 78 views or something like that. And so this idea clicked in my mind that maybe what people like to see is something to see rather than just something to hear. Like, what's the point of being on YouTube if I'm not making videos to look at, instead of it just being a background image that just sits there? And so I had this one album, Paradise, and I kind of like, as I was writing the album, I always had these ideas rolling around in the back of my head for music videos. And I was, when I was younger, I was really inspired by Pink Floyd's The Wall, and he had like the dual release, they had the dual release of the album and the movie, and I always thought that movie was so amazing, and the way the album itself told a story, and then when you watched the movie that went along with it, it was basically a string of connected music videos that told the story of the album. And I always thought that was so cool. And so when I was writing Paradise, I always had this kind of view in mind that someday it would be my version of that. And so I had all these ideas rolling around in my head for music videos I could create. So I started messing around with some video editing software, just some really like some free stuff that's available on Microsoft, stuff that crashes all the time, and I would sometimes lose hours of work. But I kind of like pushed through and made videos for that first album, and I did it over the course of like a couple months, and then, you know, if anybody's actually like following along here, I posted a video kind of like this one, much shorter, just a quick announcement about how I was going to start making music videos for my songs instead of just posting the music. And I felt like at that point I had committed to only posting music videos. So it didn't feel like it was okay for me to just post a song that didn't have a video that went with it, right? So what I did was I scheduled all of those songs like a week apart, you know, because I had the whole album all done, like all of the videos done. And I posted those songs a week apart, you know, had them all scheduled out on YouTube. So, you know, again, trying to like bite into that algorithm and hope that it like notices, oh, I'm posting regularly, you know, at the same time every week. And I adjusted it a couple times, and I did see the results that I expected. I was getting more views, and that felt pretty good, you know. It was pretty cool. I was like, okay, this is growing, you know. But I really felt like Paradise was like my best album, so I was like, shoot, like I'm gonna run out of good material here. Like the previous album was really me kind of like just exploring different sounds in music format, and so sometimes the songs feel a little bit silly to me. Sometimes they feel a little bit forced, I guess, but they're not. It's not that the music gets forced, it's that like I felt like I would get an idea for like a rap song. Like I would write down some lyrics that were very clearly in a rap format. And so I would kind of like take on this persona of like a dark, dangerous, like gangsta type, you know, and like I would do the song like that. And so when so after I posted all the videos for Paradise, I started working on the next album, which was the previous album, Anxious. And as I was trying to make videos for that album, I found myself kind of like out of ideas for videos, because Paradise, I had all these images in my head, all this stuff that I wanted to do. But with Anxious, it was kind of like all over the place, you know. There wasn't a consistent story throughout the album for me to kind of like work off of. So I found myself trying to like force myself to create another video every week so that I'd have something to post when time ran out on the Paradise album, because it felt like a ticking clock, you know. I had all these songs scheduled a week apart, and I think it's 21 songs, so I had 21 weeks to come up with another album worth of music, and which felt like, you know, a ways off at first. I took it real easy. I was like, I'm burnt on making videos, so you know, I took my time. But then before I knew it, the deadline was drawing near, and I found myself going like, I gotta get a video out every week, you know. So the first couple songs on the album, I just kind of like smashed some things together and made it happen. But like and if you do go and watch like the first 4 songs on the album, they're Spit, Anxious, Dark Agenda, and Growing Discontent. And so there's videos for those 4 songs, but it felt very much like I was just doing what I had already done with the previous videos. Whereas the entire album of Paradise, I felt like there was some innovation happening with each individual video. Anxious was just me like recycling techniques, which mostly was a lot of just like compositing images on top of each other and kind of making like this visual mess, which I feel like can be interesting to look at, but it didn't have any depth to it. There was no story behind it. So I found myself kind of getting burned out on the whole idea because I didn't know where to go from there. And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, I was occasionally coming into the studio, booting up the music software and, just kind of like working on some things. But what happened for the most part was I was just like making beats. And this is still kind of the case. Like, I'm still finding myself having a hard time like sitting down and writing lyrics. But that's kind of how it all started. When I made the album Anxious, back in 2001, there was no words. And then I made the album Paradise, and there were a bunch of songs with lyrics. There's a couple of instrumentals on there, but it felt more like a actual music album instead of just a bunch of beats that I had made. So I found myself going back to Anxious and going like, I need words. And I don't know like how it happened, like I had a burst of inspiration or something, but I actually sat down and like wrote all the lyrics to the entire album of Anxious, and like I don't know, it was like a couple hours at a time, but only a few days, and I wrote all the lyrics, and then I actually just like recorded it all in one day. And it felt really like cathartic to like just like knock it out, and again, I felt like some of it was kind of like just me experimenting with different sounds and stuff like that. So a little bit of it kind of felt silly, but so when I started writing all this music and I didn't have any lyrics to go with it, I was kind of like, well, that will come, and but it just kind of never did. I never really like got into the habit of being in the studio and writing music and having my mind on music, where I was going like, what's the next song I'm gonna write be about? And so I found myself with just all these different songs that had no lyrics to them. So it kind of just felt like an unfinished project, and a few of those songs got some videos. There's the albums called Rebirth, The Fog, and Electric, which aren't really albums. They're just collections of unfinished beats, really. And those are available to watch and listen to on the channel right now. But I always wanted to do something more with them. I didn't want it to just be a bunch of instrumentals. And if I feel like I have some songs that are really worthy of being just instrumental, then I might go with that for an album. But I do have things to say, and so I want to say those things in my music. And so kind of where I'm at now, going back to the whole point of this video, which I know is dragging on, and I'm sure most of you have clicked on to the next video by now, but what it's kind of coming down to is I'm back in the studio, I'm writing new music, and I'm trying to find that inspiration to like write some new lyrics and stuff. And so one of the projects I'm working on is actually a kind of reimagining of the Paradise album. That's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. That album is really old now, even though the videos only came out a year ago. The actual like music videos. I'm having a hard time differentiating because I'm posting videos of music, but then I'm posting music videos. So bear with me. But But yeah, I'm doing this reimagining of the Paradise album and just kind of like increasing the sound quality. You know, it started off as like a remaster, but I found myself going in entirely new directions with some of the songs, and so that's where I'm kind of taking the whole project. The other thing I'm working on is kind of like finishing up old music, you know, some of those old beats that I felt like were unfinished works. And then the third thing I'm working on is a brand new album, and I've already got a couple songs completed on that one. So, but kind of the idea moving forward is to kind of let go of this idea of finishing a project before I start posting it. And I think part of the reason why I felt the kind of pull to like have a full album was partially because you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and that's what artists did. They wrote a whole album and then they released a whole album. But nowadays, and for a while now, people have been just posting one song at a time on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, and so it doesn't make any sense for me to kind of like wait until I'm done and then just end up never posting anything. So I'm going to be starting to post videos soon, immediately, you know, starting with this one if I ever finish talking. And yeah, I guess that's about it. You know, long story short, I kind of got burnt out on making videos because I was trying to force them out. And I mean the music videos, like actual moving pictures. I was trying to force them out, and I was not letting my creative flow just kind of happen naturally, and that's what I need to be doing. Because what's most important to me is not, and the other factor was that if I wasn't posting every week, then I wasn't like meeting the requirements of the YouTube algorithm, which I'm sure there's more to it than that. Like I'm definitely a novice when it comes to that whole aspect of this, but I do know that posting regularly is something that the algorithm picks up on. And I did notice that I was getting a lot more views when I was posting regularly. So, you know, I was afraid of the algorithm getting messed up because I wasn't able to post one every week. And, but what's most important is that I am posting, not because I want the algorithm to recognize me, you know, but so that I can share my music with people. I do talk about, you know, things I'm struggling with and, you know, emotional difficulties that I've had. And I hope that stuff can, you know, help someone through a hard time or inspire somebody to create something from their own hardships, because I really feel like the greatest art does come from, you know, our hurts. So yeah, with that said, there won't be as many music videos, but I am going to start posting again, you know, songs with minimalistic stuff going on in the background. And then when I do get inspiration for music videos, like, you know, an actual music video project comes up, I'll do that. And then, you know, kind of what I had done before was like, you know, the song Tempest is on there with just an image, and then I make a music video for the song Tempest. So I would make the original post private and replace it in the playlist with the updated music video version of it. So I'll continue to do that. So, because I don't want my channel to be flooded with a bunch of like repeat music. I'm like, I want you to see the best version of the video. So yeah, when new stuff comes up, I will replace the old videos with it. And, but yeah, I hope you're still with me at this point. I know I've been talking for a long time, but, I had a lot I wanted to say, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm motivated and kind of like passionate about getting started on this journey again. So I hope you guys tune in and check out some of my upcoming projects, and that's about it. So see you soon.